guys, if you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. Okay guys, I'm back and it is Monday, August 17th and it's 9:56 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, let's go get started. Of course, we don't have any Q posts because there's no platform for Q to post on, but we do always have lots of Q related news. I did not post yesterday. I find that every now and then I have to take a day off and just not see the news, not be on my computer, and really get some other good stuff in me. And Sunday was one of those days. I had reached my limit of all the nonsense that we deal with on a daily basis here. So anyway, I'm raring to go tonight. And look at my little cursor here. Do you see it? Well, it's Sammy. It's my little Sammy cursor. So anyway, okay, enough of that. Let's go over here, and I do want to thank some people that have donated. I went to my mailbox, and you know, I really didn't think anybody would send me anything. I thought I had several people ask me to you know, give them a PO box number, and I thought, nah, who's going to send me stuff from the States? And yeah, lots of people, and it's so much fun. So thank you, Solange. I hope I'm saying your name right. And she is actually originally French Canadian, and she's living in Illinois. She sent me a birthday card and donation, and thank you very much. And from my mailbox also, and I have to show you this. I have to, because really, this is the funniest card I've ever seen. And I'll show you the outside. Well, I'm going to have to go over here so I can see. Okay, there we go. It says, making your birthday great again. And you open it and listen.
I just wanted to wish you a happy birthday. I would never say in your case that you're fired, so I'll just say you're hired.
Isn't that awesome? It says, your birthday is not fake news. Happy birthday. And this is from David. And David is in Washington, not Washington, D.C., but Washington, the state. So thank you. And let me go back over here. And also, the following people bought me coffee from the last video, so that would have been Saturday's video. Deb, thank you so much, and thank you for the comments. And from Stephen Can't Spell, that's what he said his name was. Stephen Can't Spell. So apparently, Stephen can't spell. But thank you for the note and the donation, the coffee money. And Farrell H, he did not leave a message, but thank you so much for the coffee. And someone called Anon, thank you, Anon. And Deborah, and thank you so much, Deborah. I got your note, and that is so incredibly sweet of you. Very, very sweet of you. So anyway, that was from Saturday and from the mail that I picked up today. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you, of course, to all my Patreon supporters as well. I appreciate you all because it makes this possible. All right, let's take a look at some of the news and some of the more interesting stuff. Let me get this out of my way. Hang on. And let me pick this cord up, because it may attract a certain black cat. And thank you also to the people that brought to my attention that it was on Saturday, or was it Friday? Black Cat Appreciation Day. Who knew? I didn't know there was such a thing, but there is. All right. Trump defunds Planned Parenthood. Abortion biz loses $60 million in taxpayer dollars. Now, this is from today, And this is very good news. The Planned Parenthood abortion business announced today it will officially withdraw from the Title X program, costing it $60 million in taxpayer funds because it refuses to follow a new Trump administration rule that requires it to segment out its abortion business from legitimate health care if it wants federal funding under the program. Because the abortion giant is withdrawing from Title X, the $60 million in taxpayer dollars I received annually can be redistributed to groups that engage in legitimate women's health care. The Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals late Friday rejected a request from more than 20 states, Planned Parenthood, and the American Medical Association to block new pro-life rules that Planned Parenthood is refusing to follow. Leading pro-life groups have praised the Trump administration for prioritizing women's health ahead of abortion. This action adds to President Trump's record of defunding the Planned Parenthood abortion company. And isn't that exactly what it is? Because, of course, we know that they are, I just made this a little bit bigger for the tiny phone people. That's exactly what they're doing. They are in the business of abortion, and the later the term, the better it is, because they get more money for organs and tissue. So anyway, the ninth, hang on here. Yes, Title X funds are supposed to be used to help low-income women and men receive birth control, cancer screenings, and other health care services. While the tax money cannot be used to pay for abortions, it indirectly funds Planned Parenthood's vast abortion business. Planned Parenthood is still open. We are continuing to fight this rule in court, said Alex McGill Johnson, acting president of Planned Parenthood. She said the abortion company would do everything it could to make sure that the clinics could stay open. But Catherine Glenn Foster, president and CEO of American United for Life, told Life News she was not surprised Planned Parenthood put abortion first and women's health second. It's a great day for women's health in America. Planned Parenthood is America's deadliest nonprofit, and the news that they're refusing to accept taxpayer funds to target vulnerable women is a good thing for women's health. Women deserve the chance to live empowered, full lives that are free from the harms that Planned Parenthood poses through abortion and abortion-focused services. Women who need true health care will have their needs met by authentic and eager health care providers across America, she said. Ashley McGuire, senior fellow with the Catholic Association, added, in withdrawing from Title X, Planned Parenthood has made it crystal clear that abortion is its number one priority. Planned Parenthood could have chosen to make the investment to restructure to be compliant with federal law, or have chosen to abandon abortion altogether and focus instead on women's health. Instead, the abortion chain is walking away from tens of millions of dollars of money earmarked to help low-income women. Recently fired President Dr. Leana Wen said she was ousted because she wanted to promote comprehensive women's health over abortion. Once again, Planned Parenthood is placing abortion above all else, most especially the low-income women they claim to be serving. In June, the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals granted the Trump administration request to lift national injunctions ordered by lower federal courts in Oregon and Washington state, as well as a statewide injunction in California. That set up implementation of the new rule, which the administration is putting in place today. But Planned Parenthood made one last-ditch effort to get the Ninth Circuit to stop the pro-life rules, which it declined to do on Friday. A 3-judge panel and an 11-judge panel have already said that the rules can take effect when the administration appeals lower court rulings that block them. Oral arguments are next month. The abortion giant petitioned for a stay against the Trump administration's new pro-life rules in a letter to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit. Its CEO falsely claimed defunding means women won't get legitimate medical care, but defunding means Planned Parenthood won't get federal funds because it won't stop abortions. Well, that's where all their money comes from. Planned Parenthood was threatening to formally withdraw from Title X funding August 19th unless a federal court intervened. Without the intervention, defunding can proceed. Since Planned Parenthood has indicated it will refuse to follow the new rules, putting abortion ahead of women's health care, it will lose the entirety of its funding. There are 4,000 Title X service sites across the nation, with Planned Parenthood representing fewer than 400, and other centers would be eligible for its funding. Last May, the Trump administration published a new proposal for Title X that would prohibit Planned Parenthood and other abortion businesses from receiving any of those tax dollars unless they completely separate their abortion business from their taxpayer-funded services. That means housing their family planning services in separate buildings with separate staff from the abortion business, and a denial of funds if they fail to do so. Most Planned Parenthood entities are not expected to comply. We thank President Trump for taking decisive action to disentangle taxpayers from the big abortion industry led by Planned Parenthood, said SBA list President Marjorie Dannenfelser. So, I'm not going to read the rest of this, but it is, maybe some of you don't feel that it's a good story, but I do. I don't think that I would not feel right about my tax dollars being spent for that, because it is against what I believe. But and really that part of the business can fund itself, because they, as you know, they are selling tissue samples and, organs. So, yeah, they make plenty. Anyway, and, if it's taxpayer funded, they should be funding things like, birth control and things like that. And, things that are legitimate. Anyway. And I'm not saying, the women are still, they still have that choice. It's still there. It's just not taxpayer funded, nor should it be. So there you go. People think that Trump isn't doing anything. He's doing plenty. All right. Now, let's go back. And let's see here. This by the True Pundit. It took a billionaire corn niblet lover to die in jail for media to finally report on elite corn niblet trafficking. Sorry, I know it sounds ridiculous when I do that. It really does. But you and I both know the censorship that's happening, so I'm not going to get into that again. We're all aware of it, and hopefully, I only say this for the new people that are coming on that probably think, what is she talking about? I'm sorry, my nose is so itchy. Okay, I'm not picking my nose, really, I'm not. Anyway, adult and corn niblet sex trafficking is an unfortunate and horrifying reality that plagues countries around the world, including the United States. As TFTP has reported, people have been arrested attempting to purchase children as young as 3 months old to abuse them, including police officers. Even former child sex slaves have come forward to tell their stories and provide insight into the elite sickos who have the money and resources to deal in the lives of children. This has been ongoing for decades, yet the media and Americans alike have largely ignored it until now. I don't think that it's that they've ignored it. I think the mainstream media has ignored it, obviously, because probably a lot of them are involved in it. But I don't think that the general public has really ignored it. I just don't think they realized the extent to which it was going on, because it's an unseen crime. And, the victims are unseen. So I think a lot of people they're normal people who have normal lives. And so when you talk to them about this stuff, it's like, what? No, that can't be happening in my neighborhood. The arrest of Epic Find and his subsequent demise in the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York has catapulted the massive problem of elite corn niblet trafficking into the limelight. Naturally, politicians on both sides, including the president, are attempting to use Epic Fine's death for political advantage, which has skewed the discourse. However, for the first time, Americans are actually talking about the problem of corn niblet abuse among the elite, and this is healthy. I think it is. I think it is healthy to bring it out in the open. The more people that know about it, and the less, it up until recently, it has been a hidden crime. And now it's coming out into the light and people are beginning to talk about it. And yes, that's healthy. And it will lead to solutions. But I'll tell you, no president in the history of the United States has done more to stop it than President Trump. So I would say he is a friend of the children and not in a perverted way at all. So let me see. Now, as a tornado of conspiracy theories over Epic Fine's death continues to travel across the internet like wildfire, the media can no longer ignore the problem nor Epic Fine's connections. Yeah, it is kind of hard to ignore, isn't it? Maybe now, as the DOJ investigates, the media may start to actually report on this massive problem. This is not the first time high-profile figures have been arrested for sick crimes against corn niblets and let off with a wrist slap, but it is the first time the media is giving it so much attention because this sicko is now dead. As TFTP reported in April of 2016, Dennis Hastert, a former Speaker of the House under Clinton and Bush, and admitted corn niblet abuser, was sentenced to 15 months in prison after he was caught paying his victims to keep quiet. However, he was released in 2017, 2 months before finishing his already insultingly lenient sentence. And and too often they are given such light sentences, and because probably, it's a good old boy network, and I think that some of the judges protect others that are also involved in it. You know how that goes. All right, let's go back here, and let's look at this. Harvard science professor, Harvard science professors kept meeting with donor Epic Fine despite his sex offender status. Well, all meetings were presumably related to genetics research. Epic Fine gave $6.5 million to Harvard's program for evolutionary dynamics. And you know who else was a very, very large donor in this field? That's right, Les Wexner. Interesting. Very. Now, says Epic Fine, wearing a Harvard shirt, speaks with attorney Alan Dershowitz in 2004. Dershowitz would later be a member of Epic Fine's defense team when Epic Fine was accused of soliciting sex from minors in Florida. And Washington, disgraced hedge fund manager Epic Fine was attending on-campus meetings as recently as 2014 with professors at Harvard University, a school he had supported with at least one multi-million-dollar donation, even though the registered sex offender's ties to the school had already raised questions. Epic Fine, who donated $6.5 million to Harvard's program for evolutionary dynamics in 2003, had phone calls, meetings, and meals with members of the Harvard faculty at least 6 times in 2014, according to the online personal calendar of Dr. George Church, a renowned geneticist who holds professorships at Harvard, Harvard Medical School, and Massachusetts Institute of Technology. On April 22nd, Epic Fine met with Church at the Harvard Medical School's genetic department building, according to the calendar. The two had a phone call the next day. He had lunch with Church on June 21st, according to the calendar. The entry for the note also includes the notation, Martin Nowak's Institute. Nowak, a Harvard professor of biology and mathematics, is the director of the program for evolutionary dynamics, the project to which Epic Find donated the program, which Nowak runs from an office suite at 1 Brattle Square in Cambridge, Massachusetts, applies math to genetics to seek cures for cancer and other diseases. Epic Find has represented himself as a co-founder of the program. On September 12th, Epic Find and Church had another phone call, which was followed by a teleconference call October 21st between Epic Find and Church, and also included James Clement, an independent biomedical researcher who specializes in longevity. On November 30th, the calendar lists a dinner with multiple attendees, dinner with Epic Find, Joy Ito, Reid Hoffman, and Martin Nowak. 8 p.m., Martin Nowak's Institute, 1 Brattle Square, Suite 6, Cambridge, Massachusetts. The address matches the address for the program for evolutionary dynamics. Ito is a entrepreneur and journalist. Hoffman is a venture capitalist and co-founder of LinkedIn. Interesting. Church, Ito, Nowak, and Clement did not respond to requests for comment. Church did not respond to questions about who else might have attended the meetings and whether Martin Nowak's Institute refers to the program for evolutionary dynamics. Hoffman declined to comment. All of the meetings were presumably related to genetics research. It is not known whether any of the participants were aware of Epic Find's status as a registered sex offender. Oh, I'm sure they were. Epic Find is now facing federal sex trafficking charges in New York. Lawyers for Epic Find did not respond to a request for comment. Interesting. I also find it interesting that Dershowitz was his lawyer, and that he himself is indicated in, what went on the island. So this is interesting, and there is a real connection here with this kind of stuff. He was really interested in genetics, and what he was trying to accomplish, I don't know. But both he and Les Wexner were up to their eyeballs in this stuff. So let's go back. I can't remember what this is, so why did I have this here? Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out and get back to you, because I'm not sure, and I don't want you to all hang around watching me fumble around looking for it. So I will check that out, and it says right there, check out. Well, obviously I didn't. So let's look at this. No, really, let's. Lord Mountbatten was a homosexual with a lust for young boys, claims secret FBI dossier compiled by agents seeking dirt on British statesmen during World War II and the Suez Crisis. Let me get rid of this. And I'm sure a lot of you probably know this already. It isn't a secret. It's been out there. Intelligence files describe Lord Mountbatten as a person of extremely low morals. 75-year-old documents say he frequently had homosexual extramarital affairs. It comes ahead of the 40th anniversary of his death at the hands of the IRA in 1979. Actually, I remember when that happened. I was young, and I didn't really, very young, and I didn't really understand the significance of it, but I do remember it. Prince Charles' uncle and valued mentor, Lord Mountbatten, was a homosexual with a perversion for young boys, according to a secret dossier compiled by the FBI. The intelligence files describe the first Earl Mountbatten of Burma and his wife Edwina as persons of extremely low morals who frequently had extramarital affairs. One source said Mountbatten's penchant for young men made him an unfit man to direct any sort of military operations. The files paint a very different picture of the last viceroy of India, who was hailed as a war hero who led Allied efforts in Southeast Asia before he was assassinated in 1979 by an IRA bomb. And here is a picture of Prince Charles with Lord Mountbatten. Prince Charles' uncle and valued mentor, Lord Mountbatten, pictured together, was a homosexual with a perversion for young boys, according to a secret dossier compiled by the FBI. The intelligence file described the first Earl Mountbatten of Burma and his wife Edwina, pictured in their younger days as persons of extremely low morals who frequently had extramarital affairs. Prince Charles referred to Mountbatten as the grandfather I never had. It is not known why agents began compiling the dossier, but the FBI has long known to keep compromising material on high-profile figures, most famously Martin Luther King. The 75-year-old FBI documents were obtained through a Freedom of Information request by British historian Andrew Lowney, who has written a biography of the couple. In the book, The Mountbattens, Their Lives and Loves, Mountbatten's former driver, Ron Perks, reveals that one of his boss's favorite destinations was an upmarket gay brothel used by senior naval officers called the Red House near Rabat. Agents began compiling the file, which spans more than 3 decades, in February 1944, shortly after Mountbatten became Supreme Allied Commander of Southeast Asia. Following his appointment, the FBI interviewed Elizabeth de la Poer Beresford, Baroness Decies, about another matter, and she brought up Mountbatten, the Sunday Times reports. The file reads, she states that in these circles, Lord Louis Mountbatten and his wife are considered persons of extremely low morals. She stated that Lord Louis Mountbatten was known to be homosexual with a perversion for young boys. In Lady Decies, I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name, opinion, he is unfit man to direct any sort of military operations because of his condition. She stated further that his wife, Lady Mountbatten, was considered equally erratic. It was signed E.E. Conroy, head of the New York field office, who wrote that she appears to have no special motive in making the above statements. Agents opened more files on Mountbatten after World War II, when he became NATO commander of Allied forces in the Mediterranean, then Admiral of the Fleet, and later Chief of the Defense Staff. And there they are together again. And of course, Prince Charles always spoke highly of Lord Mountbatten, and they were extremely close. Now, how close they were, I don't know. Makes you wonder, though. Rumors about his personality swirled following his death, fueled by the comments Edwin and I spent all our married lives together. Edwina and I spent all our married lives getting into other people's beds. The couple pictured together here. Yeah, interesting. But the FBI's interest in Mountbatten peaked around the Suez Crisis, with the Bureau opening files in November 1955 and November 1956. Rumors about Mountbatten's sexuality have long swirled following his death 40 years ago. The Royal kept a large group of gay friends, including Noel Coward, Terence Radigan, Ivor Novello, and Tom Dryburgh, who reportedly referred to him as Mount Bottom. Lowney's new book, to be published on Thursday, contains an interview with Anthony Daly, a rent boy to the rich and famous during the 1970s. Daly claims Tom said Mountbatten had something of a fetish for uniforms, handsome young men in military uniforms with high boots, and beautiful boys in school uniform. So there you go. And it, you know, the royals seem to, we have Andrew that's embroiled in all of this with Epic Find, and you also have the fact that what was his name, Jimmy Savile, was it Jimmy Savile, And he was like a well-known Gordon Nibblet lover, and he was very close to the royals. So what does that say about the royals? Well, you know, you rise or fall to the level of your associations, and you know that is just true. Really, I don't think, if you were aware of their habits, that if you weren't at least indifferent to it, you would not have these types of people as friends. And certainly Charles had to have known, because I mean, I've heard that. This is not new. I've heard this. I don't know how long ago it was I heard it, but it's been out there. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. And let's look at this by Brian Cates. How many of you knew, this is fascinating. I think you're going to find this very interesting. How many of you knew that 7% of the population committed more than 40% of the known federal crimes in this country in the past few years? So 70% or 7% committed 40% of the known crime. And, you know, you think about that, 7%, 40% of the crime. So if you got rid of that 7%, crime would almost be cut in half. And who do you think makes up that 7%? Well, non-citizens commit 42% of federal crimes, despite being only 7% of the population. Now, don't you, you know, looking at this statistic, it makes you look at the wall a little bit differently. And I know we've all thought about that the crime would go down, because we do have a lot of crimes that are committed by illegal aliens. But here it is in black and white and blue, black and white and blue. 7% of the population, more than 40%. So, yeah, non-citizens commit 40% of the crime in the United States. Tells you what group we should be targeting to drop the crime, and doesn't have much to do with guns, because guns don't kill people. Because you know what? Look what's happening in London. They don't have guns, they just knife each other to death. Really. Like, these people are criminals, and they will get some sort of weapon, or they'll improvise. It's not like they're going to say, nah, I don't have a gun, I'm not going to commit that crime. No, they don't think like that. Anyway, now let's look at this. Exclusive, excuse me. I know, I probably made somebody yawn. That snuck right up on me. I wasn't aware that it was coming. Yeah, I was. You know, when you're trying to talk yourself out of it, like, I'm not going to yawn, I'm not going to yawn, but then you concentrate on not yawning so much that you yawn. Anyway, I digress. Exclusive. Prince Andrew is pictured inside corn niblet lover epic finds 63 million pound mansion of depravity 9 years ago. So how did he miss signs of the billionaire's sexual deviance? Well, I don't think he did. I think that was the point of why they were friends in the first place. So yeah, this is Randy Andy there, and opening the door to a very young girl, and there he is. There's the back of him, or is that, hang on here. Oops, what am I doing? You don't know, do you? Well, this is Epic Find, and here is the back of Epic Find with a young girl, and here is Randy Andy. He's opening the door at Epic Find's mansion to a young girl All right. Duke was spotted peering around the door of the billionaire's Manhattan home on December 6, 2010. The footage of the Duke was taken less than an hour after Epic Find left the house with a young blonde woman. Epic Find's alleged sex slave, Virginia Roberts, claims she had sex with Prince Andrew, or with the prince, at financier's New York home. Buckingham Palace has denied any wrongdoing on Duke's part, and the Queen has showed him her support. Well, of course. What are they going to say? Yep, that's him. Yep. Yeah, he loves those young girls. Yep. They're not going to say that. The towering 15-foot-high solid oak door, Prince Andrew gives a nod and a cheery wave to a pretty brunette as she leaves the 63 million-pound Manhattan mansion. He appears entirely at ease, but then, for a split second, glances around the door as if to check that no one had witnessed the brief encounter. As well he might. For these exclusive pictures come from a never-before-seen video of the Duke of York staying at the New York home of convicted corn niblet lover Epic Find, and some of the other images caught on camera make for disturbing viewing. The footage of the Duke of York, then the UK Special Representative for International Trade, was taken less than an hour after Epic Find, who had been convicted of sex with a minor in 2008, left the house in the company of a young, shivering blonde woman. So let's scroll down here. Let's just play this. There's no sound to this, obviously. But that girl looks young to me. And why doesn't she have a coat? Why would she be out in the winter without a coat? I guess she's going back to the mansion. No, she's not. She's getting in. Yeah, she's going back. And guess who's going to let her in? Oh, it wasn't who I thought. I wonder who took this video and why. Interesting. All right, let's come down here. The Duke appears entirely at ease, but then for a split second glances around the door as if to check that no one had witnessed the brief encounter. That doesn't really look like him to me, but there is, well, that thing right there. The video was shot on December 6, 2010 during a visit by the Prince to Epic Find's 9-story, 21,000 square foot mansion dubbed the House of Horrors by many of his young victims. By then, Epic Find, who took his own life last weekend, sure he did, was on a child sex offender register, yet one observer told the Mail on Sunday that several of the women leaving and entering the home while Andrew was apparently inside looked very young indeed. The Duke has vehemently denied claims by Epic Find's alleged slave, Virginia Roberts, that she had sex with the Prince on 3 occasions. The first was when she was 17, and once at the U.S. millionaire's now notorious 40-room mansion. Who needs 40 rooms, really? At 9 East 71st Street in Manhattan, the setting of these pictures. Her allegations, submitted to a court in 2014, were later thrown out by a judge who ordered them to be struck from the record as immaterial and impertinent. Since Epic Fine's suicide last weekend, he faced further child sex trafficking. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Buckingham Palace has repeated its denial of wrongdoing by the prince. Any suggestion of impropriety with underage minors is categorically untrue. It is emphatically denied that the Duke of York had any form of sexual contact or relationship with Virginia Roberts, it said. Now, the thing is, what else are they going to say? And don't you think it's interesting that coinciding with all of this is his announcement, Randy Andy, that he is retiring from public life? Well, no doubt he is, because probably anywhere he would go, he'd be heckled. All right. And there is, like, she looks very young to me. I could be wrong, but she does. Any claim to the contrary is false and without foundation, and that coming from the Crown, what do they call it? I guess it's, I'm not sure. The Queen also made a public show of support by allowing Prince Andrew to sit next to her as they were driven to a church service near Balmoral last Sunday. However, these images are sure to raise fresh questions about the 59-year-old's judgment as they place him inside the private inner sanctum of Epic Fine, who continued to abuse young girls even after his controversial 2008 plea deal that saw him serve just 13 months, much of it on day release. The prince looked entirely at ease in Epic Fine's house, a source told the Mail on Sunday last night. There were girls coming and going. One who came out of the house with Epic Fine about an hour before Prince Andrew said goodbye to the brunette was tiny and shivering. It was particularly cold New York December day. It was a particularly cold New York December day. What I remember most is the constant procession of girls and women going to and from the house. It was chilling to see. Everyone knew by that point that Epic Fine was a convicted corn niblet lover, yet he was flaunting his lifestyle in plain sight. Now, I don't think that she looks particularly young. She's young, but I don't think she's underage, but she might be. Well, looking there, she does look very young. So, when the prince came to the door, I was stunned. He looked totally at ease. He had said a few words to the girl, who was very pretty, and then she walked off down the street in the direction of Central Park. If I had known it was Prince Andrew, I would have thought he owned the place. He looked so comfortable and relaxed as he stood there at the door. He didn't appear to have concern in the world as he smiled and waved goodbye to the girl. It was only as the girl walked off that he glanced around the door frame, almost as if to check no one was watching. The video was taken less than 24 hours after the prince was infamously photographed walking through Central Park with Epic Fine. He had met the U.S. businessman through Ghislaine Maxwell, the daughter of disgraced tycoon Robert Maxwell, and a woman the FBI says is now of renewed interest in its ongoing case into allegations made by scores of women that they were sexually abused by Epic Fine and his wealthy friends at homes in London, New Mexico, New York, also New Mexico. Oh yeah, sorry. I already said that. First day with the new brain. And the U.S. Virgin Islands. Ms. Maxwell has repeatedly denied that she acted as a madam for Epic Fine and has described Ms. Roberts' claim as malicious lies. Epic Fine's New York home was as weird and twisted as the man himself. The entry foyer where Prince Andrew stood to wave off the brunette was decorating, according to an account by writer Vicky Ward in Vanity Fair magazine, with row upon row of individually framed artificial eyeballs imported from England. The video footage shows the initials J.E. in raised brass letters on the wall next to the front door. What is not seen is the heating element that Epic Fine had installed beneath the concrete pavement to melt the New York winter snow. On a wall in the hall was a bizarre portrait of former U.S. President Bill Clinton in red heels and the infamous stained blue dress worn by Monica Lewinsky when she performed a sex act on him. Nearby hung a giant painting of Epic Fine inside a prison surrounded by barbed wire and gun-toting guards. The disgraced financier reportedly said the artwork was to remind me that I could go back to prison anytime. As the brunette begins to walk away from the house, the Duke of York waves goodbye without stepping inside. I think, okay. After she leaves, Randy Andy pauses to peer around the giant oak door as if he's checking to see if anyone saw him. As the light begins to fade, another brunette arrives at Epic Fine's house, the latest in a procession of young, attractive women who visited the property that day. A chandelier had a life-size female doll hanging from it, and one woman who claims to have been assaulted by Epic Fine said a bathroom had prosthetic breasts on the wall so he could play with the nipples as he took a bath. Okay, dozens of photographs of Epic Fine with his famous friends include Bill and Hillary Clinton, Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and filmmaker Woody Allen were on display in his study beside a life-size stuffed tiger and a stuffed gray poodle. One can only wonder how Andrew missed the procession of women or the signs of Epic Fine's sexual deviance. Indeed, Epic Fine's pride and joy was a large human chessboard at the bottom of the main staircase, which had customized figurines modeled on his female staff members wearing suggestive clothing. Then there was a life-size statue of a naked African warrior, not to mention the leather room. When the FBI raided the house after Epic Fine was arrested last month, it reportedly found thousands of indecent images of underage women on computer drives locked inside his office safe. All right. So I think that's it. Oh, no, it isn't. Others have claimed that Epic Fine had photographs and videos of his famous friends engaged in sex acts, which have now been seized by the FBI, prompting conspiracy theories that Epic Fine was murdered despite official autopsy results released on Friday, stating definitively that the cause of death was suicide. I don't believe it. The video obtained by the Mail on Sunday is particularly shocking for the fact that even 2 years after his 2008 corn niblet conviction, Epic Fine was seemingly flaunting his penchant for young women in plain view and in the middle of one of the busiest cities in the world. The footage began just before 2:30 on December 6, 2010, as two security men leave Epic Fine's mansion and chat to another security man in waiting. Epic Fine's black Bentley arrives in the street about 20 minutes later, shortly before a delivery man from Le Gourmet delivers a parcel. Shortly after 3:10, an unidentified young woman in a red beanie hat leaves the house. She heads in the direction of East 66th Street, where Epic Fine owned a flat and where, according to some alleged victim, he kept young Eastern European girls as virtual prisoners. Nothing surprises me. Nothing. Wonder if Fergie knew of his penchant for young ladies. About 25 minutes later, an older professional-looking woman with blonde hair leaves the house. 1 minute later, at 3:35, Epic Fine, wearing a thick white fur-lined winter coat, leaves his property, followed by a young-looking girl in a flimsy gray top. She appears to be carrying his glasses. In a deeply troubling scene, the blonde-haired woman, who barely reaches Epic Fine's shoulders, appears cold and shaking as she walks with the millionaire to his Bentley. Epic Fine clambers into the back seat as the young woman stands on the street, seemingly being given instructions. An older passerby glances at the incongruous-looking couple. After around 2 minutes, the girl jogs back to the house, where she stands at the front step and presses the doorbell, visibly shaking with cold. It is opened by a professional-looking brunette woman closely resembling Sarah Kellen, Epic Fine's former assistant, whom several alleged victims have dubbed a co-conspirator in Epic Fine's crimes. Kellen, who is now married to a U.S. race car driver called Brian Vickers, has never commented publicly about the Epic Fine's case. Now, we've seen this before, and I really don't want to see it again. One of those things that I can't get out of my head. You know, I'll probably need to bleach my eyes. However, she appeared in court during a defamation suit brought by Ms. Roberts against Ms. Maxwell and pleaded the fifth when asked about her role in Epic Fine's trafficking scheme in America. Invoking the fifth is a legal term, which means you do not have to give evidence that might incriminate you. At 4:30, the door opens and a pretty brunette emerges. She pauses and turns back to the house where Prince Andrew can be seen at the door. The pair chat for a few seconds before the woman walks away, leaving Andrew to glance up the street before closing the door. 40 minutes later, as the light begins to fade, another young-looking dark-haired woman arrives at the house. In an unpublished manuscript released in the U.S. as part of a huge trove of documents relating to a defamation suit brought by Ms. Roberts against Ms. Maxwell, which was subsequently settled, Ms. Roberts talks about meeting Prince Andrew in Epic Fine's New York home. In her account of her encounter with Prince Andrew, Ms. Roberts described how the prince sat on a sofa and posed with a spitting image puppet of himself. She gives an account supported by another alleged victim of how the prince sat on a sofa and posed with a spitting image puppet of himself. When Andrew cupped my breast with a doll made in his image, I only giggled away, she wrote in the book, describing in court documents as a fictionalized account of her life. Last night, the source of the video said they had decided to go public with the footage to encounter further victims to come forward. To encourage further victims, rather. I'm haunted by the shivering young girl who was with Epic Fine. What became of her? Asked the source. Now I'm reading everything that went on inside and know the full horrors of what went on. I'm wondering, was she a victim too? This weekend, Prince Andrew was relaxing in the sunshine in Spain on a holiday with his ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson. The source said when the video was taken, he looked like a man without a care in the world. You have to wonder if that's still the case. So many disturbing questions, it's time Andrew answered them. Royal author Angela Levin on how the prince must disclose everything he knows about Jeffrey Epstein. Now, I'm not going to go on. That's pretty much it, but unbelievable. Actually, I'll leave a link to it. Yeah, that way you guys can look at the pictures for yourself and also read the rest of the article if you so choose. All right. Now, let's go back. No, really, let's. Okay, and whoops. Okay, let's look at this. And look at this is interesting. Because you'd wonder why, if somebody was trying to leverage their wealth to stay alive in prison, they would later, commit suicide. Why would you do that? Why would you be paying somebody to protect you in prison, like other prisoners, and then kill yourself? Does that make sense? I don't think so. Jeffrey Epic Fine tried to leverage his wealth to survive in jail. He couldn't buy his freedom, but he could buy vending machine snacks, the friendship of fellow inmates, and hours on end away from his cell meeting with lawyers. Millionaire pedophile Epic Fine spread his wealth around as much as he could in the month before he committed suicide on August 10th at the Federal Manhattan Correctional Center. The New York Times reported Saturday Epic Fine deposited money in at least 3 other inmates' commissary accounts in an attempt to ingratiate himself and possibly buy protection from the hardened criminals in the MCC's special housing unit, where he awaited trial on a massive underage corn niblet trafficking indictment, outlet reported. To escape the misery of his damp, mouse and roach infested cell, the disgraced money manager would pay a staff of lawyers to meet for up to 12 hours at a time in a private attorney-client meeting room. His entourage would routinely empty the 2 adjacent vending machines of drinks and snacks. It was shift work, all designed by someone who had infinite resources to try and get as much comfort as possible, a lawyer who was often in the jail visiting clients told the outlet. At times, at least, the perks worked to lift his spirits. A lawyer who met with Epic Find in early August claimed he was very, very upbeat, an account that jives with what sources told the Post about his spirits in the day before he apparently killed himself. Attorney David Schoen, not sure if I pronounced that right, told Paper he met with Epic Find for roughly 5 hours and had expected to join his legal team. One thing I can say for sure is that when I left him, he was very, very upbeat, said Schoen, who was ultimately never hired. But in the week before his death, Epic Find appeared more and more haggard and unkempt, lawyers and prison staff told the Times. He's deprived of communication with third parties, looked disheveled, and was sleeping on the floor sometimes, one lawyer told the paper. He spent the last day sitting for hours with his lawyers and would have been well aware that a court had that day released a damaging trove of more than 2,000 pages of documents from a prior defamation lawsuit by one of his accusers. Then back to the darkness and vermin of his cell, which the Times said was positioned so that a small window would have allowed Epic Find to see if the guards tasked with monitoring him were awake or, as prison officials now charge, asleep. The city medical examiner's office has concluded his death was a suicide. On Saturday, Epic Find's former attorney, Alan Dershowitz, told the Post that despite the murder conspiracies swirling around the, corn niblet lover's death, he is certain his former client just gave up. I think he killed himself because he didn't want to spend the rest of his life in prison, Dershowitz said. He did a cost-benefit analysis and thought he'd be better off dead. Sure he did. Okay. Excuse me. That was necessary. Okay, and let's go back here. Now, this is very interesting and disturbing as well. Another topic, at least. Boy, Kelly Clarkson's just keeps losing that 50 pounds. No wonder she's so skinny that she's unrecognizable. Okay. Illinois Democrat state lawmaker simulates assassination attempt of President Trump in political fundraiser. Yeah. Political fundraiser for a Democrat state lawmaker in Illinois simulated an assassination attempt of a mock Donald Trump. Attendees to Illinois State Senator Martin Sandoval's political fundraiser were able to carry out their Trump assassination porn fantasies this week. A political fundraiser for Senator Sandoval simulates I better not say that word in association with this word, or it'll probably get tagged, but simulated a fruiting attempt against a mock Donald Trump decked out in Mexican garb. Looks like a man pointed a fake assault weapon at the fake president to pose for a picture, WCIA3 reporter Mark Maxwell said in a Twitter post. Not appropriate, people. Not even close. Sandoval's later apologized after outcry from social media users. Social media users tagged Secret Service to alert them to what they perceived as a threat to President Trump. The incident that took place is unacceptable. I don't condone violence toward the president or anyone else. I apologize that something like this happened at my event, Sandoval said. Yeah, he's only apologizing because he got caught. So, response from Senator Sandoval: the incident that took place is unacceptable. I don't condone violence toward the president or anyone else. I apologize that something like this happened at my event. And this is the same picture. And yeah, what do you guys think of that? I think it is, I don't know. I mean, you had Kathy, is it Griffin? Holding the head of our president, which was absolutely horrendous. Absolutely. Like, I don't understand. If this had happened with any of our former presidents, the entire country would have gone ballistic. So why is it okay with this president, who is, by the way, duly elected and should have won by a much larger margin than he did. It's coming out that, yeah. But then we knew that. We knew that. I mean, even, you know, I mean, Hillary Clinton lost a rigged election because I think what happened, her loss was so huge, they just couldn't make up that many. You know, if it was a few, but I think, you know, it was by millions and millions. Anyway, let's go back. There's more. No, really, there is. Now, Silicon, this by Tank Barrett. Silicon, now he is responding to Donald J. Trump, who wrote the following, or tweeted the following. Wow, report just out. Google manipulated from 2.6 million to 16 million votes for Hillary Clinton in 2016 election. This was put out by a Clinton supporter, not a Trump supporter. Google should be sued. My victory was even bigger than thought. And Tank Barrett responded and said, Silicon Valley now brags that they are the fourth and most powerful branch of government now. What are we Americans going to do about it, Mr. President? This is completely unacceptable. They are deciding our elections. They tried to decide our election, the past election, and, you know, thank God, didn't succeed. But can you imagine 2.6 million to 16 million votes they manipulated for Hillary, of course. So I wonder what her real numbers were. That would be fascinating. I bet you so few people actually voted for her. Yeah. And then she continues to make excuses, you know, why she lost. She can't believe it happened because, you know, it was a rigged election. She lost a rigged election. I mean, how bad of a candidate do you have to be to lose a rigged election? I'm just saying. All right, let's come down here, and this is very interesting. Okay. Now, this from Q on the 3rd of April, 2018, and he was referencing an earlier post of his from the same day, said, the chair serves the master. Who is the master? P equals C. Q. Then, beneath that, he said, why is Epic Find spending $29 million to bury the tunnels underneath its temple on Epstein Island? Problem. Phones were allowed in. These people are stupid. So there's video out there. There's video out there, and Q knows it. So I would say that he has it. Remember, they have it all. So, yeah. But let's look over here. And this was, I'm not sure. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I am sorry, really sorry. Okay, this, I'm not sure when this was tweeted, to tell you the truth. I grabbed this off of Twitter. But it says tunnel, it tweeted out by the U.S. Department of Defense. Tunnel vision. A U.S. Marine Corps Marine conducts a weapon maintenance check during a training exercise at Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center 29, Palms, California. Now, 29, tunnel vision. Oh, yes. So, this person is making the connection between this because he spent 29 million and 29 and tunnel. I don't know, but it's an interesting connection. And we do know that that is exactly how they communicate, how Q communicates. So let me see. I think I'm going to stop there. I do have more. But I think I'm going to stop there because it's 11 o'clock and I've been going for a while. It's kind of been at least to me, it seems like it's been a pretty slow news day. But tomorrow, if the news picks up, which I suspect it will, then I will do 2 videos. All right. So that's it. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I appreciate you. I really do, because without you, I'd just be sitting here talking to nobody. That's what I'd be doing. Well, the cats listen. No, they're sleeping. They're not listening. Okay, that's it. Stay safe, stay well, stay blessed, and keep seeking truth, because deception bites.